The radium madness, a century ago. A century ago, luminous watches in the dark were a truly fascinating sight. The hands and numbers on the watch face were coated with a special paint, glowing without the need for sunlight. It was like magic. In 1916, one of the first factories to produce luminous watches went into operation in New Jersey, USA. The factory hired about 70 women, among the first of thousands of female workers at such factories across the United States. It was an easy job with high pay. To apply paint to the tiny watch hands, the girls were instructed to point the paintbrush with their own lips and were assured by the factory that it was safe. But the paint that made the watch hands glow magically was due to containing radium, a radioactive element discovered by scientist Marie Curie less than 20 years earlier. At this time, the properties of radium were still not fully understood. Thus, the female workers at the watch factory swallowed it almost every time they applied paint. They became known as the Radium Girls. Radium, the miracle element. Radium, discovered by Nobel Prize-winning scientist Marie Curie and her husband Pierre Curie in 1898, was quickly used in cancer therapy. Because of the success of this therapy, radium became a powerful, miracle drug, used much like we use vitamins today. Humans were fascinated by its power, said Kate Moore, author of The Radium Girls, in an interview with CNN. At that time, a radium craze truly occurred. This radioactive material became a supplemental vitamin added to a host of everyday products, from toothpaste to cosmetics, even food and beverages. One manufacturer named RADIUM even infused a very small amount of radium into drinking water, then advertised it as a kind of miracle water for rejuvenation, promising to cure all kinds of diseases from asthma to gout. People knew that radiation releases energy, but they didn't know that introducing certain types of energy into their bodies could be harmful, said Timothy Jorgensen, a radiation expert at Georgetown University and author of Strange Glow, The Story of Radiation. Not the panacea people thought. Radium is a deadly element. American athlete Eben Byers became famous for drinking a bottle of RADIUM every day for several years, only to die young in 1932. The Wall Street Journal headline about his death was equally chilling: radium water, a great remedy until his jaw came off. Hidden killer. When ingested through the digestive tract, radium becomes particularly dangerous. Chemically, it acts very much like calcium. Since the body uses calcium to build bones, radium ingested through the digestive tract is mistaken for calcium and deposited into bones. So swallowing radium leads to bone tissue destruction and bone cancer. The progression of these diseases depends on the dose of radium, but with high doses like those used by the Radium Girls, it can be within a few years, Jorgensen said. The luminous paint works by transforming radiation into light through phosphorescence, making it one of the most successful original products of radiation. Every time the brush was applied to paint, the Radium Girls were infected with a small amount of radium. As luminous watches became fashionable in the early 1920s, the world became more aware of the risks of radiation. However, radiation poisoning did not occur immediately but silently over many years before workers exposed to it showed symptoms of illness. The Radium Girls initially believed they were getting healthier and healthier thanks to working with a new miracle drug, the most expensive substance in the world at the time, worth the equivalent of $2.2 million per gram in today's purchasing power. The girls were even likened to artists, contributing to the production of high-quality watches, so they recruited more sisters and friends to the factory. At one point, the U.S. Radium Corporation watch factory had up to 300 female workers, many of whom were relatives and family members. At that time, a side effect of painting watches was that radioactive dust filled the air when the paint was mixed, covering the hair and clothes of female workers, making them emit a surreal blue light. The girls even enjoyed it, advising each other to wear beautiful clothes to the factory, so that when they left, they looked like sparkling princesses. But the good times didn't last. In 1922, 22-year-old worker Molly Maggia had to quit her job because she fell ill. Initially, Molly had toothache. After the dentist pulled her first aching tooth, the next tooth started to ache and was also pulled out. But from the gap of the lost teeth, strange lumps began to grow, looking like dark-colored flowers, inside the bloody and yellow pulp. The tumors developed rapidly, making the patient's breath increasingly unpleasant. Then Molly began to feel pain in both legs, making her gradually unable to walk. Doctors again said she had rheumatism and prescribed aspirin.